The day I graduated high school was the day I learned my mom was terminally ill. I felt that I had to instantly grow up. Everything changed. 4 weeks later, she passed. I was still 17 years old. The first 6 months were a blur. Lots of people telling me how I should or should not feel, what I should or should not do, or telling me how resilient I was. I found after a while that I did not want to be resilient anymore. I just wanted to rest and take a break. And everyone seemed to be talking about the 7 stages of grief, like grief was something you just got over. The 7 stages are shock and denial, pain and guilt, anger and bargaining, depression, the upward turn, reconstruction and working through, and acceptance and hope. These are commonly recognized stages or experiences that most people go through after losing someone. Not everyone experiences all of them. Not everyone experiences them in that order. But perhaps most importantly, they are cycles, not stages. Cycles. Meaning that these feelings will come back. Some days grief will be in the background, and others it will be in the foreground. But it will still be with you, and that is okay. It can be easy to feel judged while grieving, feeling like you're somehow doing it the wrong way, or maybe your friend was right about you needing to supposedly be over it. But there is no right way and no predictable timeline. As I wrote this speech, I didn't know if I'd be feeling great or if I'd be close to tears because of a dream. We're told it will get easier over time, but I think easier needs some context. What we have over time are more coping mechanisms and a better sense of our new realities. July 23rd this year will mark 5 years since I lost my mom. My grief is not easier, but I understand my grief better and what I need to cope more. Most people here have lost someone they love. During the pandemic, many lost friends and family members. And just last week, we lost Linda Henderson, an important part of this community. It is a time of shared grief. For those who haven't lost a person, maybe you've lost a pet or a close friend. No one needs to die for you to feel grief. Losing close relations can cause many of the same feelings, but with the additional sense of confusion because they aren't gone from this world, but they aren't present in your world. This grief is just as valid and needs to be felt. When my high school friend group decided to stop being friends with me, I needed a good week to cry because these people I'd shared half of my life with. These were the people who knew me inside and out, and now I wasn't going to be able to share my personal life with them anymore. For all forms of grief, we need coping mechanisms. We need to find a way to deal with the hole we feel. In vain, we try to fill it, ignore it, or fight it. Some of us get angry, some of us turn to substances or distractions, but this is a hole of love and caring. We can't fill this space, and we can't pretend that it doesn't exist, because it is now a part of us. But this hole of love can be a teacher and can evolve. We can learn to take this emptiness we feel and remind ourselves of the positive things that these people left behind. We can learn to we can remember the mark they left on our lives. We can accept they meant a lot to us and that we miss them. And we can take their teachings and what they gave us and share it with others. By sharing and exploring our feelings, we lessen our burden on ourselves and allow others to be supportive and share their experiences too. We can support each other. There's a reason we have Candles of Caring. It's a tool you can use to engage with the community and cope with your feelings. You don't have to feel alone. You can take your time and ask for what you need. And when you ask, there will be people waiting there to listen and offer you a hand. Thank you. Now we move on to acceptance and forgiveness. Daily, if not weekly, we find ourselves having squabbles over things that in that particular moment seem very important, but in the big picture mean next to nothing. Right before my grandmother passed, we were talking on the phone. I was pestering her about when I'd be able to visit again, money, unaware that she was unwell and that this would be our last conversation. Needless to say, I held a lot of regret over that conversation. My impatient tone, my non-listening skills. I spent months wishing that I had been actively listening to her, because thinking back, it was painfully obvious that she'd been gently trying to let me know that she wasn't well and that I wouldn't be able to visit her because of this. Most people will remember conversations like this that they deeply regret and wish they could have changed. They get caught up in what I call the ood words. Could have, should have, would have. These words create barriers to the present moment. They keep us stuck in alternate timelines, unable to learn from the past and be productive in the present. There will always be conflict that we wish didn't occur, but does. To break free into our present, we must start with acceptance. Acceptance is the act of recognizing events and people as they are without the intent to change them. Acceptance can be difficult because it involves peeling back the layers of our wants, dreams, wishes, and judgments. Being okay that we have those judgments and doing our best to look objectively at the situation or person and say, it isn't exactly what I would want, but that's okay. This is how things are. This is how things were, and here is how things are for me, and that is okay. My grandmother used to say, you can't change the behavior of others, only your response. It's easy to react. It's hard to stand back and think objectively. In the process of acceptance, I believe the most important person to accept is yourself. To try your best to stop judging yourself and treat yourself like you want to treat others. It's okay that you don't always know what to say, that you've made mistakes and don't know what to do. It's all right that you accidentally lost it with your kids, your friends, or your families. Sometimes we break down. What did you learn? What I learned from my conversation with my grandma is it's important to try your best to listen and not jump to conclusions. And that sometimes I need to take a step back and recognize when I am projecting my own feelings and thoughts onto others. I also realized that I had been holding my emotions and fears in, and that I needed to lay off myself and lend some forgiveness, which is our next step into the present. Forgiveness is the act of owning up to our own behavior and letting others know that we don't hold the past against them. Sometimes we seek forgiveness when we've done something we feel guilty about and want to own up to and move past. Sometimes when we're giving forgiveness, it's not for another person, it's for us. Because holding in emotions, anger, frustration, it drains us. Holding a grudge doesn't drain another person, it drains us, especially when we've lost a person who we held a grudge against or had mixed feelings towards. And we need to forgive to move on. I had a grudge against my mom for never telling me that I was autistic, for hiding that information from the world. What helped me forgive her was recognizing why she behaved that way. She was scared, afraid of a world that might reject me if they knew, and fear is understandable. I wish we could have talked about this, but we can't. So I wrote a letter with my frustrations, what I wish I could have known, and let it go into a fireplace. Just like with acceptance, we need to give ourselves forgiveness. We need to be compassionate and understanding towards ourselves and recognizes the circumstances we were in when events we tear ourselves apart for happened. In DBT, otherwise known as dialectical behavioral therapy, you learn that people are doing the best they can, that people want to improve, and that people need to do better, try harder, and be more motivated to change. Which basically means that you are trying the best you can, but sometimes your best at that moment won't be enough to solve what you are going through. But you are still motivated and wanting to improve, and that is okay. You are enough. Recognizing that helped me let go of my regret and shame and focus on what matters this moment right now, how I choose to act, how I choose to learn, how I choose to love. After the hymn, I will be playing a composition of mine, Infinite Love. I wrote this song for my grandmother and grandfather. Through this song, I keep them and their loving spirits alive. And now we continue to part 3, Growth Through Love. Emily Dickinson wrote, "Unable are the loved to die, for love is immortality." This quote holds a special place in my heart and is written on my mom's bench. But it also reflects a curious truth I came across through grief. What I learned through grief was that grief really just seems to be an extension of the love we feel for those past. And love, it isn't finite. It can grow and grow like the Grinch's heart, I remember one day walking down near the legislature when I just got hit by this feeling of love for all. That I just wanted to give the love, that I wanted to give the love to the world and share the love that had been given to me and honor the memories of those whom I had lost by sharing their love with the world and living life the way they had inspired me to live. This was a moment of joy. No, I didn't need to stop loving those that were gone. I didn't need to stop remembering them. I just needed to actively bring them with me through my life's journey. It was okay to feel this joy while also standing in a pool of tears, because this was me. My whole and my heart was evolving, embracing new love and new possibilities. It was okay that nothing had gone to plan, because I had learned so much. And when I say nothing, I mean right after my mom died, I really did try to follow my dreams. I thought, you know what? It's the perfect time to go follow that Disney plot point. You go get a boyfriend, you go have a perfect relationship, you go get that good job, you do it all. And I very quickly realized that that is not life. I did get a boyfriend, and through that I realized I was lesbian. I did, yep. I did get a job, and that was my first hint of the fact that there is a lot of discrimination in workplaces. And then I went to culinary school because cooking had always been my dream, and I was surrounded by a bunch of old white men saying, no, there's no possible way you could make these pastry things without a refined white flour and white sugar. You will never be able to do stuff. And I also discovered within that space, because of my epilepsy, and they're weirdly objective, if you miss 8 classes, you're out of the program, even if your grades are above 80, I had to also leave my dream of becoming a chef, which I then kind of also realized that industry was not suited for me. But it was okay, because through those experiences, I learned so much. It was sad that my mom wasn't there cheering me on. But I know that she is somewhere. She is somewhere so proud of my sister and I and what we've accomplished. During this time, I've also finished an actual certificate. I'm in college again. I have my own little family. She's somewhere there smiling about the love that we found. Like the love that I found in having my partner. And those moments can be scary. Sometimes finding new people that we care about deeply can almost feel like a betrayal to the memories of those who've gone, but it isn't. We are not forgetting them. We're remembering ourselves and the joy we know that those are gone would want us to have. When I met my girlfriend and her daughter, it was like I was given a chance to start over. I was given a chance to remember those who I lost and be happy with those who I have. I was given a chance to share my memories and bring parts of my mom back to life. Her recipes, her teachings, her somewhat positive attitude towards life most of the time, unless it involved the medical system, and share them with a new generation. I found new purpose within my own little family and knew that this would be good for me. Whether or not we are grieving, it's surprisingly easy to forget to live and easier to get stuck passively walking through life, forgetting why we chose our jobs and group activities, the passion we had for life. And yes, I do know that I'm 22 and that might sound weird, but that does still happen. Online, Facebook and stuff, it can just take you away from your remembering your joy. As with anything, life is a balancing act, and we need to work actively to make sure we create the space for ourselves to be present in our lives. Quick ways to bring ourselves into the present moment are taking 5 deep breaths, keeping a journal, keeping a gratitude journal, doing short morning meditations, and eating mindfully. Remembering what we have to be grateful for through journaling can help us remember the positive in our day-to-day lives, which is crucial when we're not always feeling the best. The present can seem evasive at times while grieving. Finding moments to be mindful is key. We are alive, and we must remember to live. This is what helps us live a full life.